All right, so this is the second set of notes. Before we even start, you need to make sure that you have this worksheet that goes along with it, either pulled open on your computer or printed out so that you can write the answers on it. You also need to have a graphing calculator because we're going to be using that for this lesson also. All right, so let's get started. If you look at the very top of this worksheet, we're going to go through this list of words and we're going to figure out what do they mean. Do they mean to add, subtract, divide, multiply, or does it mean equals? Okay, so all of these words and phrases are going to go in one of those columns. So what I want you to do is to try it on your own first. So I want you to pause the video. I want you to go through and put each of these under the column you think it means. If you think it means to subtract, put it under there. And then when you get done, you can unpause it and we'll go through the answers. Okay, so pause it and try it. All right, hopefully you have attempted these. So let's start with more than. More than means to add. So it should have been under the plus column. Product. Product means multiply. So that's goes under the multiplication. Now, I do want to stop right here because I know in middle school, a lot of times you are taught to use the X for multiplication. And I even did that on this worksheet because I know that's what you're used to. But starting now, they're going to expect for you to know that this little dot also means product. So if you see like 2 dot x, that really means 2 times x. So this symbol, instead of meaning multiplying, because a lot of times you could get it confused, is it multiplying or is it an x? So we don't really use this for multiplying anymore. We're going to start using this dot, okay? So anyway, product means to multiply. Multiplied, clearly, I hope you all got this one right. It means to multiply. Times, if you're timesing something, 2 times x, that also means multiply. Is kind of tricky. Is means equals. So if I say 2 times x is 14, that means you would put 2 times x equals 14. Quotient means to divide. We're going to use that one a lot. Quotient means divide. Increase. If you increase something, that means you go up, which means we add. So increase was under add. Double. This is a tricky one. I might write this off to the side somewhere. Double means you're going to multiply by 2. So if I say m doubled, that would be m times 2. Okay. Total means equals. Plus means to add. Less than means subtraction. Per, and this is another kind of hard one that a lot of you probably don't see. Per means divide. Sum means to add. Difference is subtract. Minus is subtract. And decreased by is subtract. So, check your answers. Make sure you fixed any that you got wrong. And then we're going to put all of this into use. So, let's start with these weird phrases. I actually wrote them on the worksheet so that you wouldn't have to take time writing them. They're right here. Less than and subtracted from. Those two mean that you're going to write the answer backwards. And we're going to have examples so it'll make sense. And I'll point it out when we get to one like that. Or if you see the sum or the difference, you're going to use parentheses. All right? So let's go through some of these. And again, these are all written down on your worksheet. So as I do number 1 on here, you need to be writing down the answer to number 1 on your worksheet. Okay? So we just start left to right, just like you're reading a book. So we're going to start with 8. More than. Now if you're not sure, you can go back and look at that list that we just did. But more than means to add. So we're going to put plus. A number in. So it says instead of a number, we're going to use an in. So this is 8. More than means plus a number in. All right. Difference. Remember, if you look right here, difference is special. There's two things you need to remember. We're going to use parentheses. And difference also means, I think we put it under here, we did, difference means to subtract. So I'm going to have subtraction. So difference of 7 and 4, so 7 and 4, the difference of 7 and 4 times a number x. So times a number x. So that's how you would write number 2. Difference means subtraction and use a parentheses, and then times the number x. A number less than 20. All right, this is one I said I'd point out when we got to one. Less than. Less than is the one that we're working with, and it's another weird phrase, all right? So it means we're going to write the answer backwards. It also means less than, right here, it means to subtract, okay? So I'm going to have subtraction, and I'm going to write it backwards. So the number, it doesn't tell us what it is, so we're just going to use a letter. So I'm going to use an X, but it's going to go at the end, because remember, less than means that you write the answer backwards. So the X comes at the end, and the 20 is going to come first. So let me walk you through that one more time. Less than means to subtract. It also means write it backwards, okay? Because it just said a number, it didn't tell me what the actual number is. We just use an X. You could have used an A or B or C, but some variable needs to go there. And then the 20 comes first because we're writing it backwards, okay? Number 4, a number squared less than the number. So again, look at this. We're looking at less than, okay, which means subtraction. It also means I'm writing my answer backwards. So let's start with a number squared. If it doesn't tell you the number, we use a variable. So I'm going to put an X. Squared means it's an exponent. It's to the second power. So this is a number squared, X squared. Less than, that's my subtraction, the number. And it's the same number, so I'm going to use the same variable. A number squared less than the number. Let's keep going. Twice a number. Twice is another one. It means you multiply by 2. So 2 times some number, we don't know what it is, 2 times a number, is, remember is means equals 18. So let's go through all this again. Twice means multiply by 2, so I did 2 times. A number, when you don't know what the number is, you put a variable. Is means equals 18. All right, so what I want to do now, I want to pause this. I want you to pause it, and I want for you to try 6 and 7. So pause it, try 6 and 7, and then we're going to go over it. All right, hopefully you have attempted number 6 and 7, so let's do this. 10 decreased by, that means subtract, twice a number. Remember, I just did twice up here. Twice means 2 times and a number. It has to be in this order. The 10 has to come first. The only way yours might be different, you didn't have to use an X. You could have used any other letter, okay? And 7, quotient means to divide. So we're going to divide X and 22. Is means equals, and it equals 14. Now, if you wrote it like this, it's perfectly fine. I'm not going to count off, but I do want to take a moment and tell you again about notation. Remember we talked earlier about how with multiplication, we don't really use an X anymore, we use a dot. With division, we don't really use this sign anymore, okay? So another way to write this is X divided by 22. And that's how you're really going to see division in all of your high school math courses. The division sign, this sign, it really goes away. We don't use it. We write it as a fraction. So this is another way to write it. X divided by 22. Both ways are correct. Again, I'm not going to count off, but I do want you to see this because when you take your end of course test at the end of the year, this is how they're going to write this statement, okay? All right, number 8, let's try this one. Okay, I see a fraction. That's okay. Write an algebraic expression for the product. So that's a key word. Product means multiply. So we're going to do 3/4. Product means multiply. And A, so I'm going to put an A, to the 7th power. So that means it's going to be an exponent, and it's going to be a 7. So 3/4 times A to the 7th. Number 9, write an algebraic expression for the sum. Okay, that's important. Sum of 11. Sum means to add. And X to the 3rd power, which means I'm going to have a little 3 up here. Okay. All right, so now actually evaluating these. This is when you're going to need your calculator, and I'm going to show you how we type exponents into our calculator. So we're going to evaluate 3 to the 4th power. That's what this problem says. So you're going to type in 3. The way we get exponents is this little button right here. We call it the caret. I don't know why, but that's just what we call it. So 3 raised to the 4th power. Some of the calculators, they're not going to put this symbol on there. Your little blinky mouse thing is just going to pop up to the exponent. Both ways are fine, okay? But again, you type 3 raised to the 4th power and hit enter, and the answer is 81. So let's do another one. Actually, you guys tried this one on your own, 8 squared. See if you can type that in. So hopefully you typed in 8 raised to the 2nd power, and you get 64. Okay, last little thing we're going to do in this lesson. What happens when I give you X, Y, and Z, and I want you to evaluate? It's really, really easy. We're just going to plug it in. So I'm going to do 10. If a letter and a number are right beside each other, that means they're multiplying. So I'm going to do 10 times X. But look right here. I know X is 3. So I'm going to do 10 times 3. Then I'm going to bring down my minus. I'm going to bring down my 4. Again, if they're right beside each other, that means multiply. And Z, but I know what Z is. Z is 7. So we're just going to type this in our calculator. 10 times 3. 10 times 3 minus 4 times 7. Type it all in at once and you won't get it wrong. And your answer is 2. So I want, well, no, I don't want you to try 13 because it's a tricky one. Okay. So Y, I know Y is -5. So I'm going to do -5 squared. Bring down my plus. Bring down my 2. Bring down my minus. Bring down my 3. This is timesing. And Z, which is 7. Now, this is very important, okay? If you are doing a negative to an exponent, you have to put it in parentheses or your calculator will give you the wrong answer, okay? So when you're typing this in and it's any negative to any exponent, if it was -3 to the 4th power, you would have to use parentheses. If it's a negative, you use parentheses. So let's type this in. The parentheses buttons are right here above the 8 and the 9. So I'm going to do a parentheses. Your negative sign is right here. -5. Close the parentheses. Squared, remember an exponent, you do raised to the 2nd. And then we're going to type in minus 3 times 7. And you get 4. So, now we are done with the notes. So what you should do, all of this should be filled in. You should have been doing this as we were doing the video. So through number 13 right here should be done. I want for you to do the rest of it. Okay, 1 through 16 are like the very first section that we did. And you're just writing out in numbers what I'm telling you in words. Okay, 17 through 20 are multiple choice. So you're going to figure out A, B, C, or D, which one says this. which one says 22 minus n, okay? And then 21 and 22 are like what we just got done doing. You know x is -2, so you'd plug in a -2. And remember, if you're ever squaring or doing a negative to an exponent, you need to do parentheses when you're typing it in the calculator. Okay? So go ahead and try these and turn it in when you are done. Thanks.